I will call us to order and welcome you. And I would like to ask our treasurer, Tiffany Sickler, to please consider giving us a land acknowledgement now.
Absolutely. So we at the Children's Caucus, we support Indigenous communities, teachers, and organizations who protect land and water, culture and language, and traditional medicines. While we're meeting today on a virtual platform, still we'll all acknowledge the Indigenous peoples of the lands where each of us sits behind our Zoom screen. I am currently here with the Nisenan people and the Maidu tribe, acknowledging the land that I'm on, and give you a moment to do the same. Indigenous communities are under a unique and historical threat under this administration from abandoning treaty responsibilities, questioning and threatening Indigenous people's United States citizenship, the threat of sale of sacred lands, and the reintroduction of harmful mascots as a rule of government in order to win contracts. We at the Children's Caucus, we reaffirm our commitment and responsibility to improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. By reflecting and acknowledging harms and mistakes of the past, we may consider how we are and how we can each in our own way try to move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Liz, is it possible for us to share the agenda on our screen here?
Yes, let me pull it up for you. Give me just
Awesome.
1 second.
Thank you.
There you go. Of course.
And you will see in the agenda a couple of links that I find really helpful. There's a great map available of Indigenous sort of distribution of tribes around the globe, and a lot of information in these two links. This document will be yours to keep for after our meeting too. So you can find that there. Our secretary, Abba Nagisa, I believe is here. And I'd like to, actually, first of all, I need to approve the agenda. Can we see the agenda on the screen? There should be a link in the back of the house. And I would entertain a motion as anyone.
Sure. It's Chris Stampolis. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Who is that?
Ilka Weston.
Thank you, Ilka. Are there any objections to the agenda? Going once, going twice, going 3 times? Thank you. But you can always chime in if there's a problem that comes up. And now we'd like to ask our secretary, Abba Nagisa, to please present the minutes and check in whether there are any issues with that.
Hey, Sarah, this is Matthew. Could you just co-host me? Thank you so much.
Abba? Let's see if we can find her. Is she here?
Sorry, yes, I am. I'm sorry, I'm at work still. So, does everybody have a copy of the minute?
We can put it
Yes,
back in the chat. Do you have it, Sarah?
Yeah, it should be on our screen too, or you should be able to.
Yep, let me grab it.
Right there. There you go.
Yeah.
This is Matthew. If there are no objections, I would just like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Thank you.
I'll second. Any chance we can get Amanise in as well?
She's been approved.
Oh, she has. Okay.
Abba, I guess I'll ask for Abba. Are there any objections to approving? That's all right. Any objections to approving the minutes? Once, twice, going 3 times? Great. They are available in the agenda for you to review if you need to afterwards. Abba's our secretary. She's a teacher in Inglewood, and I wanted to check in with her. Do you have anything interesting to tell people about how the new year is going and what it feels like under our new administration?
It's a lot going on. There's a lot going on right now. So we've closed. How the new year's going? It's hectic. We closed 5 schools, merging schools this week, and it's just beyond hectic, making sure students have the class. We don't know who comes back, not, and it just with the whole ICE situation too. Day 1, there was ICE at near the school, some of our schools, and we are just trying to get everything situated. So there's a lot going on. So my apologies for not being able to stay, but we're literally trying to get our classes together due to a lot of no shows and just go back and forth.
No problem. Thank you very much. I certainly understand how hectic and overwhelming it is. Our treasurer, Tiffany, will present our treasurer, our treasury report, and also carry on, please.
All right, our treasurer's report and membership. So we are at, as far as I've been on this caucus and on the board of this caucus, the highest number of members, 321, which is not huge considering that's for the entire state of California, but we're growing and we would love it if you guys could help us expand our membership, because expanding our membership expands our reach. As of August 20th, it looks like we have $6,447.82. That should get us through our next convention, hopefully. And just to be a reminder to our members, our real only source of income is our memberships. And for every membership, CADEM takes $5. So it's a tough build for us to stock up enough money to have a good presence at our conventions. So that, my friends, is my report.
Thank you very much. So let me just say a word then about the caucus. We do have a YouTube channel where we have archived our past meetings if you'd like to take a look and see, what you're joining, and also review some of the content. We've had conversations with the Attorney General, with the current State Superintendent of Public Instruction, and there may be some other things on there of interest to you. In the immediate past, we met in Anaheim for our convention. We had a meeting online. We had a soapbox ice cream social in person, which was, we had popcorn and ice cream for all. We managed to feed all of Klubeck's army of volunteers. Thank you to the heroic efforts of Liz and Abba, I think, on the popcorn machine, and Anne and Matthew on the soapbox, managing a lot of people's keen interest in speaking. So, and then, of course, in the background, Corrine was conducting our elections, which was a tremendous job, and we really appreciate it. It went very well, and we thank you so much. Also, what we've done recently, we've had we've convened a legislation study group. We've convened 2 of them, actually. We heard about 12 bills, and in the agenda you will find a grid available for that. Not sure if we can screen share that. Liz, is that a doable thing? And you will see a link there to a grid, which hopefully has a lot of information for you about the 12 bills that we heard and that we submitted to the Legislation Committee of CADEM to for a position of support, request that. You'll find some media reports and the fact sheet, which the sponsor of the bill generally puts out, and it's kind of the elevator pitch. It's very helpful. You'll also find there's some tabs there. There's a tab about, some of the process of legislation and the circumstance where we as caucuses cannot take a position on a bill. We can suggest it to the full party that then makes a decision, but everyone here is an individual. So when you learn about a bill, if it grabs your excitement and you think this is something you would like to weigh in on, you can do that. You can submit your own note to the author or to the committee that is hearing the bill and weigh in this way. If you need help with that, let me know. There it should be information on that, I think, in one of our newsletters. Our newsletters are archived on our website, or you can just reach out to me and I can help walk you through it. Also on the agenda, you will find a link to a Google form. If and when you come across more bills that you feel that we should learn about, please fill out the form. And this, I'm committed to having these legislative study groups, on a rolling basis. When you find one that's of interest, when we get for enough batch together for another meeting, we'll convene and learn. Other things that are coming up, not necessarily in the past, is that we are going to host a public forum for the State Superintendent of Public Instruction. They will do this on Zoom, September 13th. 9 a.m. bright and early in the morning. And we'd love to have you come listen. It will go up on our YouTube channel, but you can register in advance for that and submit questions. We have not started to think about our format. It will be a challenge. There are 6 Democratic candidates, and just so you know, there's more at large who are not Democrats. So it's going to be an interesting and important race, and we are going to hear a lot about that coming up in a half hour. We have 2 experts here to help us sort of learn and think about how to guide our thinking about what this office can do and be, and how we can weigh in on this effort. So stay tuned. That's coming. We have meetings in process that we're planning, and these we'll let you know about them on maternal and infant health, ethnic studies, human trafficking, AI, and we have a series of conversations with elected leaders and party leaders. You can see some of those on the YouTube channel. I hope you'll check them out. And if you have an idea of somebody who you're really keenly interested in hearing from, drop me a line and let's try and schedule that and set it up. More in the pipeline. We have CDP meetings coming up. There's an executive board in the late winter, and our endorsing convention will be in early spring. And then to a point that was really covered, a lot of people were talking about in our conversation before the start of the meeting, is what CADEM is doing about organizing and activism, because as most people here will surely be aware, there's a new there's a new sheriff in town and a new world order where we're looking at redistricting our congressional districts in California to match the shenanigans in Texas and from the Republicans. And this is going to actually be a hard fight, and CADEM is in it with both feet. They will be setting up phone banks, and we will do stuff from the Children's Caucus. I invite you to be involved or to pitch ideas of other ways of working for this. That's definitely in the offing. So we used to have I'm sorry, I don't see our agenda on the screen. I think it's helpful if we can just keep sharing that.
Do you want to just leave it up there? Okay.
I'm sorry.
We're burning through it. I was just trying to
trying to keep up.
keep us moving.
Yeah, I know,
Hold
because
on,
I
let me
think
do
that some of these logistical things are not all that interesting. I see Ava and Matthew have a hand up. Let me just finish this section and then I will get to you. And we can talk. There's 2 opportunities that the Children's Caucus is looking at in terms of engaging people here in the activism. There's this the CADEM itself has all hands on deck behind the redistricting, contingent on the executive board, in fact, supporting it this weekend. That is on the line. But there's also another partner we have. Grassroots Dem headquarters has a phone bank set up, sort of raising consciousness about the circumstances around health care and the cuts to Medicare. So these are ongoing. They happen every Thursday in 2 shifts, 4 to 5:30 and 5:30 to 7. I guess I have that written wrong. And I would encourage people to engage that way. Ava.
Hey everybody, Ava Chow from Cupertino. I am a teacher. I'm also the president of Democrats for Public Education. I'm really super excited that we, as the Trojans Caucus, gets to host a panel speaker of all the candidates for superintendent of instruction. I was wondering, for sure it would be available to us members. But would that opportunity be available if I wish to share it to our club members? Currently, we have 56 registered Democrats in our club. That's possible.
Absolutely. Please, please. It's a public forum. All CADEM committee meetings and caucus meetings are open to all registered Democrats. They're free of charge, and we're a service organization. That said, we also all know, and we're going to be talking about this, that there is a world of jeopardy on the field with these nonpartisan races. And a big tent is a necessary thing to achieve or to strive for. So while our meetings are for registered Democrats, I am trying to hold in mind our values and make these meetings available to people with our values. So just because your friends or circle are not registered Democrats, please just ask them to. If you vouch for them, that's certainly fine. If I don't know them, I may drop them a note and try and figure out, are you are you a spy or are you really interested? That's that circumstance. So please, everyone here, please share as broadly as you can. Matthew, thank you.
Before we move on, I really just want to take a point of privilege to thank you, Sarah, and everyone that came to our legislative committee meetings. Those were so informative. If we can all give Sarah a big round of applause. Those were just such great meetings that I know, as someone who does politics for our tribe, it's just an incredible, I learned about so many things that I didn't know about. So thank you so much. I just wanted to thank you, Sarah, for that.
Well, thank you. And I really love the grid that comes out of it, because that keeps on giving. It's right there. It has links to the LegInfo, and there's a lot to learn. I got put on the legislative committee in my county central committee and sort of adopted their process, which I think works really well. So keep it coming. Somebody just today told me about another piece of legislation, and they said, gosh, I don't know why you didn't think about this, but the fact is there's 2,000 pieces of legislation or more. I think CTA is watching, I don't know, what is it, 500, 200? I don't know, something insane. There's so much good stuff out there. Put it on the form and let's get together and do it again. And it's actually an interactive sort of two-way street, because for these groups, I contacted the author's office and their leg staff and chief of staff and asked, is there someone who can talk to us about this? And they're like, many of them are unaware that anybody cares at all. They're like, oh my God, yes, please let us tell you. Because not all bills, I think, are people really committed to, but some of them are absolute passion projects, and there's nothing they want more than to tell us about it. So this is really an interactive two-way win-win. Please fill out the forms. Let's do more. Ilka.
Oh, good. I already took off the mute. That was me who brought up Assembly Bill 1376, which was written by Assemblywoman Bonta, Rob Bonta's wife, our Attorney General, and it was to back up the organization FLY, which is something lifeline to youth, because right now Republicans and Democrats are in Sacramento right now. They're even trying to interfere with 495, which was written by Lachey Sharp Collins, Dr. Lachey Sharp Collins in Assembly. So I probably will ask you how to fill out a form like that. That way I am a good contributing member and I'm following the protocol.
Oh, that'll be great. That's wonderful. And maybe I'll put that up on the website. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I could email it to you if you want. I could
Okay.
text it to you too. Yeah.
All right, absolutely. So I think we are almost done with the part of, the past and present of the caucus and what we have on the road ahead. Just please, please keep in your there are a lot of ways to engage what's going on. Obviously, we all know there's a flurry of shit coming at us from so many directions. It's dispiriting and debilitating, and it's hard to know what to do. But, little baby steps can be helpful. So, we will offer these phone banks in partnership with others. Mobilize.us, I think it has a huge number of events happening. Wake up, find somebody to hold hands with and step out and do something. We'll try and help. And now I want to turn to Ilka. Is that, I'm sorry, was that your old hand or?
No, no, no. You know what? I just got really excited about a great idea, especially when you said people who have common visions like ours. I will happily go to the San Diego teachers unions and encourage them to join the caucus and try to build membership in that way. I will happily do so.
That's awesome. I really appreciate it. And speaking of reaching out and getting people, we're trying to become organized within the caucus. You will see on many of our screens behind us is a map of these incipients. We're trying to network groups that are already in process of focusing on kids' issues, and also to help stimulate, engage, support, help people in coming together wherever you are with this kind of a meeting. And Janice Jacobs, I hope you're on the call. I'm pretty sure you
I
are.
am.
Excellent. She's been helping to coordinate this effort,
Incredible.
and I will let her take that away.
Great. I cannot see myself on the Zoom, so I'm not sure if I'm off center or okay. Now I know how I look to everyone else. So what we see ourselves as, since we're the Children's Caucus, as the opportunity to bring together subject matter experts and people who are passionate about children's issues, and to consider the policies that most impact children and to look at it from a partisan perspective in order to be able to support Democratic candidates. California is such a large and diverse state, and so we really need to take a regional approach because the issues are, are different, occur differently, and different issues are more important in certain areas of the state, and it's different circumstances from a rural community to urban communities. So what Sarah and I've been doing is there are several already existing Democratic clubs. I think, Sarah, there are about 6 of them, 6 or 7.
Well, we have more than that tonight. Let's do this. We have
With Orange County,
9 speaking to us, and there's a couple more sort of incipients coming. So, it depends how you count.
Okay.
There's an issue between Dem clubs and non-Dem clubs. So that's part of how you count. Sorry to interrupt. Go on.
Yeah. So what we're thinking is we're going to start in terms of supporting. We're looking at the more pink and purple areas of the state, and helping to initiate and connect people to get together, whether it's a formal Dem club or just a group of people who get together to consider what are the issues that we can really win on. And so focusing on the issues that have the broadest bipartisan support, and to discuss really how Republican policies are harming children and what Democrats are doing to address these, these attacks and these concerns. So we think that this is an opportunity as we sort of go through the issues and identify, what are the 5, key issues that we feel are winning issues for Democrats, losing issues for Republicans, that really impact the people in these regions that, where there's some sort of potential to flip or to get more, Democrats involved. And we feel that it's important to focus on the issues that are the most unifying. So things like school funding, funding for Title I, students, individuals' disabilities, healthcare, environmental concerns, and there are others as well, but looking, Medicaid cuts, many of these issues are, people care about whether or not they're Democrats or Republicans. And so I think it makes the most sense for us to focus on the issues that we're going to get a listening, and for us to help gather this information, gather this perspective, and be able to hand this off to candidates that are running for office, Democratic candidates, to help them position themselves. So that's, I think, the strategy and the direction we're going, but we're certainly happy to support individuals who want to start these clubs anywhere in California and can dive in and help, make those connections, help bring people together, and get things going.
Thank you, Janice. And Ilka,
Hi,
I see you again, but
ma-
let's hold it for later, okay? Janice, do you want to introduce our Northern and Southern Vice Chairs, who will introduce some of the leaders of these groups?
Oh, okay. I don't have the agenda.
Oh, that's okay. Well,
in front of me.
I'll just, we know Matthew. He's been our Northern Vice Chair for several last session and this one, and he is going to tell us some of the world from his point of view and introduce some of the groups that are in the northern part of the state.
Where are you, Matthew? I'm trying to pin you. Hold on, you're moving on me. So many people on the Zoom.
There he is. I
That's
see
a
him.
good problem to have. More people.
Are you with us, Matthew?
He's there. He needs to unmute. Let's see.
His connection is sometimes dicey. There he is.
There you go.
There I am. I'm sorry. I lost connection for a little bit. I lost place where we are.
We would love to hear from you about
Oh,
what
okay.
you see on the ground, and then if you're able to, if not, I can step in, but you could introduce the 5 groups that we have in Northern California.
Okay. So what we've been seeing throughout the North State and throughout Northern California in general, so a little background about me. I'm a former school social worker. I'm now doing the director of education for our tribe. So we have very much been seeing a decrease in enrollment as a lot of our undocumented families, our neighbors, I think are afraid to go to school. We also have seen, I don't like to say his name, so I just call him the Orange Clown, but the Orange Clown and his budget with the Department of Education. I know the Office of Indian Education has been completely wiped out. So like we lost our regional director with the Doge cuts and all of that. So there's just a lot of uncertainty. I know a lot of the teachers and the educators in this room know that we went into this school year not really knowing where our funding is going to be coming from, if it's going to be coming throughout the year. So there's a lot of uncertainty in our schools. So Sarah, if you'd like to talk about the 5 Democratic clubs in the North State, that'd be great. That's what I'm seeing. So thank you.
Sure, thank you. Our first one is in Shasta County. Is Shay Stevenson here? Maybe Liz can take a look. I don't think I've noticed her coming in. I hope she's here.
I love Shay. If she's here, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, she's going to try and come in. Hers is, and Matthew will know this very well. Hers is not a Dem club. I understand that organizing as the Democrats can be very challenging in the northern part of California. Shay, are you here? No, Shay?
If Shay's not here, I can jump in on
She's not here.
Shasta United for Public Education. So Shasta United for Public, so I don't know if a lot of people throughout the state know what we've been dealing with in Shasta County, though. Shasta County is a far right stronghold. Basically, we had an all Republican supervisor, but they were like reasonable, old school, kind of moderate California Republicans. They were completely wiped out. Our new supervisors are completely insane. There's only like one remaining, like kind of normal person there. But the Moms for Liberty and Moms for Liberty kind of like groups have been having a focused and coordinated, takeover of our school boards. And part of that takeover of their school boards is really pushing for religious-based charters. And so Shasta United for Public Education is really a group that came together in order to fight that and to fight the religious indoctrination of children here. I know, like, when I went to school in this district, like, we had this thing called release time. I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but release time is like a time of the day when you get religious education, which, as we all know, like, that's not, what we're supposed to be doing with the public schools. So there's a lot of, attempts at workarounds. So it's a really great organization. It was founded nonpartisan, like Sarah was saying. I mean, it definitely leans towards the Democrats, but it really is doing a lot of good work.
Thanks,
So,
Matthew.
yeah.
Thank you. And it turns out that Shay is racing to get home, so she'll come on in about 10
Oh, awesome.
We'll say another word, but for now, we'll move to Placer County and Annie Bowler.
Love Annie too.
Hey, Annie.
Well, you could almost ditto everything that Matthew just said is happening in Placer County as well. Not so much the religious push directly, but banning books, cutting DEI policies, outing transgender kids, and making sure that their teachers have to, demanding the teachers tell the parents within 2 days. Just crazy, really harmful policies, cutting counseling programs, things like that. So a group of us were really worried about it. And I'm a former teacher. And so I'm just like, we got to do something. This is crazy. All 5 of my kids graduated from schools in Placer County. And, I just love kids and I just couldn't stand it. So I started an organization. It was called Placer Advocates for Students and Families, but then we joined up with a national group called Public Schools Strong, and we're Public Schools Strong Placer County. So any of you could do that as well. And we too are nonpartisan for exactly the same reason that Matthew said, Dem leaning, but you just have to go across. And so but what we've done is there's 4 major school districts in our county that have feeder schools that go into it. So there's cohorts that are focusing on each of those districts, trying to protect when they're talking about a crazy policy. We have people going to the board meetings. But the end result is we're trying to gather enough forces together that we can elect some reasonable people. And so all the members, we have about 500 members in our club. And we're hoping that they'll all come out and help these people. We are going to be able to, and I'm a lifelong Dem, so this is a little hard for me, but last time we just got skunked. And so we're looking at the percentage of, we've organized our voting, the seats that are running and how many Republicans and how many Dems there are. And so they're rated by green, blue, orange, and red. And the red are ones that are like, there's a 30% spread. So you're never going to get a Dem elected in that area. So the best we can do at this point in time is to find a moderate Republican. And we have found some already that we're working with. We know them and stuff. So that's one of our approaches. And CTA, one thing for everybody to know is CTA across the state has asked for the representative for your region to help to elect reasonable representatives. So we're talking to those people, and they're nonpartisan as well. So the Democratic candidates will be supported through the Democratic Party And CTA will be on the ground with the PDI for the rest. So does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much. And
Questions or anything?
yeah, and you know what? Maybe what we'll do is hear from Elizabeth and Elizabeth Robledo in Fresno, and then Ava in Santa Clara, and take the questions as a group. Is that okay? Elizabeth, I think she just popped back in. Are you here?
Let me see if I can find her. Hold on. I don't think she's on right now. Who's the other one?
She said she was here. Okay.
Lisa?
If not, then let us. Oh,
Can I say one more thing, Sarah, before we move on?
yeah, sure.
So I don't know if I mentioned this, but we really have seen ICE raids that are starting to happen in and around our schools. So I know we are organizing a lot of people, just because a lot of people just don't know. I know here in Siskiyou County, out in a part of the county that has a lot of migrant workers, they're just not sending their kids to school at this time. So a lot of that information is not being able to be like pushed out. But like, I mean, some of the ICE agents came on the bus in Siskiyou County. So it's a very scary situation that we're that's the only other thing I had in my report. So I just want to make sure that got out there. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And I see Ilka's hand, but Ilka, let's hold it for a minute because I do want to get through our program.
It kind of adds to what Matthew just brought up. That's
okay,
why,
just 30 seconds.
Okay. We have teachers in our school districts now doing in their own time drive arounds in the morning and the afternoon. We have organized since Trump sent Homeland Security out to do drive-bys in neighborhoods and supply baby supplies or any food if they're needed, as well as also doing drive-bys to make sure that parents and students get back on campus, especially in Unified. So I encourage everybody in their area to take a couple hours and drive around during school time arrival and school time going home. Because I'm glad Matthew brought it up because that is what we should be doing. We should be protecting the students and their parents. And to do a couple hours as a drive-by, it's very easy.
Okay. Let's move on to Ava and hear from her, and then we can do a little discussing and then go to the Southern California. Thank you. Ava, are you available?
I am here.
Awesome. Let's hear what you're seeing on the ground.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? In regards to immigration, our Santa Clara County has a rapid response network. So through social media, and they've been training people about, and they're handing out these red cards, basically letting people know their rights if they get stopped. Although these days it's a little crazy, but you've probably had a couple sightings of that, but we do have a network. Some, depending on the school districts, some of them has been trained by the county and some of them has been told, contact student services. And so we're working on getting that out there. In terms of like the Democratic Club, we're improving the endorsement process. Our goal is to have a stronger voice within our county Democratic Party and in especially the school board and trustee space. Our goal is to, this coming up election 2026, to interview the Democratic candidates that are running and of course supporting them. We are targeting, we have a Moms for Liberty chapter over here in Silicon Valley Association of conservative Republicans. Those two groups have been endorsing MAGA extremists from the Republican Party. That also includes some that are not MPP too, as well. And probably one registered Democrat. So what we're trying to do is seeing what candidates they are putting forward and what races they're going to be popping up in, making sure that there are school board / trustee candidates that are viable and help to push them. So part of that effort is that we have Democrats for Public Education have teamed up with Silicon Valley Young Democrats. And we are doing a training program. It is available for Democratic candidates who are running for city council and school board. They wanted to build a pipeline, not only for young Dems, but for people who share the same mind. And being a teacher, a unionized teacher, part of CTA, which is nonpartisan, I'm also a PAC chair for my local union and a school board member. Our membership not only has the locals in there, but we also have school board members who are Democrats. So we're trying to build a network where we have at least a contact, preferably 2 people from each of the school districts. So when these extremists come to the board meeting, or there is an issue that can be controversial, we can organize and bring them to school board meetings. But in general, we're trying to build a pipeline to have viable candidates. With my connections being a teacher and a union member, I am keeping informed, just like this group, if there's a public event, having our local legislators come and speak regarding education issues. I send it out to all the union members that are in the area, the ones that are also CFT and independent unions. So we have 3 different kinds of education unions. And then the last effort for me is trying to reach out to the CSEA and the SEIU organizations are in our education districts.
Thank you very, very much. And so let me just say that we have 2 people in the Northern District, and Elizabeth Rublino is here, but she's on a county committee, so they keep making votes, so she pops in and out. And Matthew spoke for her. And there's another woman, Lisa Coburn, another member from Stanislaus County, Riverville, I believe, or Riverbank, looking to try and make a group there. It's very hard in these huge distances. So she's thinking rather of partnering, going to the county committee and looking to make a committee focused on kids issues rather than actually a kids club. And I mention this to anyone who's on here is another sort of a way of organizing and a way of addressing this, if that's of any interest. Reach out and I will do everything I can to put people in touch. So I notice our time is racing along and our special guests are here to speak at 8:30. We have 2 questions. Can we be really quick on them and then move to the Southern California section? Sophie. Sophie, do you have a question for one of our Northern California groups? Let's go to Matthew, and when Sophie finds her unmute button, we'll come back to her.
I just had a real quick question for Ava. What are the Moms for Liberty type groups in Santa Clara County? Do you envision them being a problem in your school board elections, or are they kind of isolated at this time? Just wondering how serious the threat is. Thank you.
They are a huge problem. At our last election, there's 31 school districts. 15 of them had Republicans or extremists in their group, and 3 of them got through. So in total, I think there's probably 7 or 8 extremists that are in our county that are at the school board level. And once one of them gets in, they kind of feel like they have a platform and they raise a ruckus. We have extremists coming in from other counties that will try to tell their story and spread a lot of misinformation and hate. So they're you think, Santa Clara County, we're in the Bay Area, but we have our share of extremists. We also had groups that were flying misinformation too and targeting one specific school district every week, going to a different school in that school district firing. So
yeah, it's scary. Sonia Shaw is running for SSPI, so that's not good. Yeah.
Right.
I know.
And that's some of my hope for this network, is that people can learn to share information with each other, you know, modus operandi, what to look for, what what it all means. Sophie, are you here? Should we go? We can come back to you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
Sorry, I was talking, but you couldn't hear. So, I want to talk about what's happening in LAUSD in our area in
But Sophie,
Boyle Heights area.
let's wait until, so we have time at the end of the agenda for people to say what
Okay.
their experiences are. And also we're going to move to the Southern District in a minute. So Annie has her hand up and then we'll come back to you if that's okay.
I just
And-
want to
Yes.
tell
Okay.
everybody two resources, and that one is Public School Strong, is a national organization that is trying to fight the whole MAGA movement. The other is the Public School Defenders Hub, which we may hear about them when we talk to the Southern California. They're out of Orange County, and we're associated with both of them. So all of our members, we're encouraging them to do their trainings. They're online, it's free. You get a t-shirt which says Public School Strong. It's really empowering and has helped to kind of unite us. That's why we ditched the first name, our private name, and went to Public School Strong, because most people want strong public schools, right? It's really, every parent doesn't want to send their kid to a weak public school, right? So, anyway, so I can put those names in the chat, but I would encourage you to look them up. There's all kinds of resources, and those people are here to help. And they've been Orange County's been walking this walk for a long time. It's just now hitting other parts of the state.
Thank you so much. And we do have those in the agenda. So that's going to be something.
Oh, so I covered. I'm sorry.
No. Please put them in the chat too.
Yeah, I will.
All I'm saying is there are many ways to reach this information later on.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Wade is our Southern Vice Chair of the Children's Caucus and has a word to say from where he's at, and he'll introduce our Southern districts groups.
All right, good evening, everyone. Wade Kyle, a little bit about myself. I'm a school teacher. I teach middle school this year, done special ed and general ed. I'm an active UTLA member and an active CTA member. I'm here to introduce our Southern California Democratic neighbors, just so that they can share a little bit about what they are doing in their area, a little bit about what's going on in our area. We have had ICE reports coming out of Arleta. We've had, and then Sophie, Ryan will talk about the PSW efforts after the vice chair on our neighbors, because we have to get through our list first. So let me introduce Sarah Holland for LA County, because Sarah is here today to speak for what they're doing herself. Sarah, it is all you.
Hey, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to post our meeting plans for all the way up to January. So under the guidance of Sarah's roofs, well, very delicate but necessary. You have to form this club, and I can do this, and we'll do this together. And her obscene amount of patience with me, obscene, guys. I don't know how to tell you how obscene. Because I'm standing at graduation where I'm going to be honest with you, two of my previous valedictorians are undocumented on their way to UCLA, and there's ICE shutting down freeways. She's like, when's the next meeting? And I think there's times I wanted to jump out of my skin, but here's where we're at. We're a massive county. And there's a lot going on. We have underground networks of people who are passing out resources and supplies to people who are being taken by ICE. We've had multi-decade attacks on our school district. And then the districts also around LA County don't get the same amount of publicity as, say, LUSD. And there's a lot going on in those schools as well. And so we started this club with the idea of kind of doing a needs assessment, because a lot of work had been done for many years by a lot of people, some of whom are in this group right now. And I don't think any of us wanted to start this group with the idea that some of this hadn't been done, is more like where we're going. And I think we've started to find our footing, and our next steps really are how we deal with all of these issues, because we have a president that's willing to invade Iran and use ICE raids in Southern California to distract us. And in reality, it's all happening at once. So I've posted our agenda for the next 4 months on where we're going, and really as a needs assessment. And the idea of in the new year launching the field. You know, what is the field going to look like as a response? Not even a response. How are we going to drive the next steps instead of responding constantly to the other side of people who are clearly wrong? You know, this is just wrong. So how do we drive the next steps? How do we block Moms from Liberty in the northern parts of LA County? ABC Unified School District, making sure those smaller districts get funding, making sure that teacher unions don't disappear. And those are big questions with a massive county. And so that's kind of where we're at, and happy to answer any questions in the chat or later on.
So with that, I'm going to move on to our neighbor to the south, coming out of Orange County, because Terry is here in this meeting. Terry, you ready to pop on? Perfect. You are on.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay, because a thing popped up that said, do you want to unmute? And I had already done so. We are the supporters of public education Orange County. We are a Dem club, chartered with the Democratic Party of Orange County. But to be honest, we really did discuss whether we wanted to be independent or part of the Democratic Party, and there are advantages and disadvantages to both. We deliberately did not use the word Dem in our name so that if we decide later to be independent, we won't have to change our name, because it helps us in some ways, but it limits us in others. We've had some really good candidates who were NPP, maybe even Republican, and there was very little that we could do except say, don't vote for the other candidate. And you're never supposed to mention the other candidate. So Orange County has 28 school districts, and a lot of the school districts have independent local groups of parents now. And we work with them, we help connect them with each other, we help get them guest speakers and that kind of thing. We were formed in November of 2021. And basically we were a bunch of parents, teachers, retired teachers, administrators, school board members, trying to counter all those right-wing groups who were going around from district to district, wanting to ban pride flags and create outing policies and do other kinds of hideous stuff. Our officers, 3 out of the 4 are CTA leaders, and 2 of them are PAC representatives from CTA's PAC. I'm a former union president, and I now serve on CTA NEA Retires Political Involvement Committee. And we are starting to work already on the what's coming up to be Prop 50. We're also working on the extension to Prop 55. That was going to be our big push, but it's now been interrupted by the redistricting. Anyway, in our district, a lot of charters are problematic. They are called leadership academies and classical academies. So they sound really good, but they're using Hillsdale College curriculum. So it's white Christian nationalists. They are often denied by the local school boards for any number of very good reasons, but they have the right to appeal to the County Board of Ed. Our County Board of Ed has been run by MAGAs for like the last, 4 or 5 cycles. And they never met a charter they didn't like, no matter how bad they are. Even when they are failing, they say, well, let's just give them some more time to work on it. Their lack of oversight is appalling. Our club focuses on recruiting, electing, and supporting sane school board members. So we help find them, we help get them elected. We only collect dues and we meet only by Zoom. So we've never had a fundraiser. So we can't give a lot of money, but we have a pretty extensive mailing list and we do share that widely and try to help people get elected in that way. Also, a number of us, well, I guess it's mostly me, serve on our county central committee and executive board, and we are in one way or another delegates to the state party. And the effort is always to keep public schools in focus. I think for a long time, we didn't pay attention that much because school board meetings were boring and they were nonpartisan, and those days are over. We have to do more. And so we were successful in Orange Unified in recalling 3 Moms for Liberty school board members. That was a huge, huge lift. And now Orange Unified is back on track. They've got a good superintendent. We've got to help get the 3 good ones reelected. That'll be coming up soon. We were able to help replace 2 of the MAGAs that are in Placentia Yorba Linda School District. The one we couldn't replace was one who was actually at the January 6th insurrection. That's how bad they are. But then in Capistrano Unified, which is the biggest district, I think they have 56,000 students. The Moms for Liberty took the majority there. And already somebody has used the N-word from the dais like it was no big deal. They are all about an outing policy. It's going very badly there. But those Moms for Liberty ran as a slate, and they were backed by a mega church. And we know in Orange County, the mega churches are very influential. They do ballot harvesting. They just tell people, here, this is how you mark your ballot, or give us your ballot, sign it, and we'll fill it out for you.
Terry,
And
I'm
they
gonna ask you to wrap up. So, because
okay, we still are failing to make headway in the Orange County Board of Ed. We don't even have candidates. We're hoping the legislature will move the date from June to November. That will help, but they are totally backed by the California Policy Institute and tons of money, and they have no limit on what they can contribute or spend. Thank you.
Thank you. I know JP has his hand up, but I'm worried we have another part of our agenda to get to. I wonder if we could move forward to the other 2 candidates so that we could hear from our special guests who are actually zooming in from a different time zone. So Wade, can you let's hear quickly from Chino Valley and San Diego County if we can?
Yes, I was going to say make it quick with our neighbors to the east off the 10, home of the mega churches from the Chino area. Bobby is here, so Bobby, ready to point in?
Actually, I'm Lisa Perlman Greathouse. I'm going to be taking this portion of it, if that's okay. Hopefully you can see me and hear from me. Bobby is on as well. And our co-founder of our group, Chino Valley Defenders of Public Education, Naomi Minogue, was not able to make it tonight. But anyway, I am just a little bit about me. I'm a longtime local public education advocate and a 2022 school board candidate. And so I'm representing our group, Chino Valley Defenders of Public Education. And also I'm an advisor for the Public Schools Defender Hub, which was mentioned earlier as well. And I feel like I can say ditto to a lot of what's been said already, even though we're in Southern California. We're a purple area with a very strong evangelical base, and we share a lot of the same issues that we were just hearing about. Whenever we speak to groups fighting for public education and we mention that we represent Chino Valley, we always hear a groan followed by, is that Sonia Shaw's board? And unfortunately, the answer is yes. So many of us, though, have been fighting right-wing religious and cultural extremism here in Chino Valley for a long time before Sonia Shaw came along. Though she has managed to capitalize on the current divisiveness in our community, and she generates a lot of media attention across the country. which is why, even though she openly admits that she never knew what a school board was before she started coming to meetings to scream about COVID restrictions, she somehow thinks she's qualified to run for state superintendent of public instruction. But I know we'll be talking about that later. But since our board flipped to an extremist majority in 2022, and last November it went to 5-0, Chino Valley has been ground zero for school district policies like the forced outing parental notification policies, other policies that discriminate and target LGBTQ plus students. They've implemented flag bans and to prevent any pride flags from campus, book bans, even ban signs that just say all students welcome because they claim it undermines parental authority. So every school board meeting agenda includes a host of resolutions that mirror the talking points of our mega church, which is Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills, and the pastor for all 4 of the sitting school board members right now, Jack Hibbs. So his is the church that's been openly campaigning for school board candidates from the pulpit for more than a decade and funding their campaigns with huge amounts of money that make it very difficult to find challengers to them. In just the last week, Hibbs has been creating mass hysteria over AB 495, which someone else mentioned earlier, saying that this bill is a sex trafficker's dream bill and warning parents that schools are going to be allowed to let anyone come and take their kids away. So, of course, this is now a resolution on the agenda at tomorrow's school board meeting. And as a result of these extremist policies, our district has been sued over and over again, and they have countersued the state, naming the governor, A.G. Bonta, Tony Thurmond. And, our legal fees just for the last school year is ridiculous for a district our size, more than $1.3 million. So we're really using that quite a bit when we're frankly campaigning and speaking out against many of these policies, because we think it's so important for taxpayers to know that this is how their money is being used. Our group has been fighting for many years, but just this last spring, we relaunched with a full website, thanks to Bobby, an Instagram account, cvdefenders.org is our website address. I think Bobby was putting it in the chat. Our membership is about 800 parents, students, community members. We are looking to be the trusted source for credible information and, of course, trying to strategize how to find candidates to flip our board, which is definitely an uphill battle in this area and where there is just a ton of disinformation. And every Sunday at our mega church is like a full-on campaign rally for MAGA, frankly. So we have monthly meetings. We try to keep our community informed, engaged, helping us search for candidates so that we can finally regain a balanced board. And right now, actually, we have a vacancy on our board. We are, some of us are applying for that vacancy and contemplating a possible forcing a special election if they go ahead and appoint another member from their church who is just a rubber stamp for their current policies. So that's on the board, and I think that's about it for right now. I know that we're short on time, but I could keep going. And if anyone has any questions, please let us know.
Thank you for cutting your time. And then we have Ann also coming out of south of Orange County, coming San Diego County.
Thank you. I'll be really brief. Hi, Ann Crosby, lifelong education advocate and past chair of the Children's Caucus. Happy to be here with you, working on all these important issues. I'm currently the president of the Democratic Education Alliance in San Diego, and I'm going to be brief by putting a lot of the information I have in the chat, or as far as links. Today we had a parent in Encinitas near me actually taken right near the school in front of their family by ICE. So these things are happening in our neighborhoods every day, and it is heartbreaking. I do have video. I'll put it in the chat and label it, please. It's hard to watch. but important to know. So what we're advocating for is to go to your city leadership and require safe zones around your schools of a mile to make sure that these types of things don't happen and ICE is just not near schools. So that's one. Two, we have a recall going on in one area, and I'll put information about that and the links in the chat as well. If you're able to help this effort, this is the worst sort of leadership with all kinds of organizing that was done behind the scenes. They ran the wife of one of the individuals as a Democrat to break up the Democratic vote and get the Republican elected, who sort of stayed under the radar, and now they have a Republican majority on the board, and they're just doing all kinds of terrible things. Finally, I will let you know that the Democratic Education Alliance has partnered with the Children's Caucus in the past to offer trainings, and we're going to be doing that again. The Dem Alliance will be doing those trainings again, specifically for people who are running for school board or community college board, because we know that they may know a lot about school districts, but they don't necessarily know how to run for office. And some of the trainings that are offered by the Democratic Party are just too high level. They don't start at the very grassroots, like what's an FPPC number? So we try to dial down and have it be very basic and also give higher level. So we just do soup to nuts training, and I'm sure, Sarah, if she's willing to, will send out information about that. So that's it for us. Thank you, Sarah, and everyone for being here and for caring about California children.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I am going to be rude and not address people's questions. I'm so sorry. I really need to turn to thank you, Wade. Thank you, everyone. I need to turn to our special guests who've been waiting so patiently. They have such an important subject to tell us, to bring to us, the questions of what the state superintendent position is and what we should look for in our questions and our listening and thinking. I'm going to put their bios in the chat and let them introduce themselves, and just hop right in, please. Glen Price and Briana Mullen. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much to everyone in the room. It's been such a pleasure hearing the reports and seeing so many old friends and new ones. My name is Glen Price. I'm honored to be with you here tonight with Briana Mullen. Quick couple of words about myself, and then I'll turn it over to Briana for an introduction, and we'll just dive right into this really important topic around the next upcoming election for a new state superintendent of public instruction. A little bit about my background. I had the opportunity to serve 2 terms as an elected school board member in the West Contra Costa Unified School District in Northern California. Have been very active, like many of you, in public education issues my whole life, and had the honor also to serve as chief deputy for State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torlakson, between the years of approximately 2015 to 2018. And I'll be drawing on that experience tonight to converse and dialogue with you about this important election for a new SPI. Briana, want to do a quick intro?
Yeah, thanks, Glenn, so much. I'm so excited to be here tonight with what is obviously such a dedicated group of children's advocates, and count myself close among them. I started going to my first school board meeting when I was 16, during the height of the recession, when cuts were just devastating public schools, knowing that they were the most important places for me and my younger siblings. And that's still true today for so many millions of kids in California. So I had the pleasure of working with Glenn at the California Department of Education as a policy advisor for Tom Torlakson under the first Trump administration, oftentimes trying to figure out how we were going to try and create a California way about how we were going to run our public schools that was very different than the vision that obviously the DeVos administration and early privatization efforts looked like. And after that, went to go work for the School Board Association and work directly with school board members to help implement What were the important civil rights protections that California had really enshrined, especially for trans, LGBT, youth of color in California, and really saw that there was a disparate effect across school districts. And so now have the pleasure of running a nonprofit that has been started by many folks, including myself, to recruit and train really the next generation of school board leadership at the Education Justice Academy. And so we have a 3-month training program that we are just about to run our 7th cohort of folks who are running and really learning and teaching each other how we can best govern for kids in a nonpartisan way with our leading with our values. So I'm so excited to have this conversation tonight with Glen so that we can talk about how the SSPI is a really key, important position, but how it's limited and how we need school governance leaders across the state of California that are going to protect kids and our vision.
Well, thank you so much, Briana. And I guess I should also disclose by way of any potential conflict of interest, which I don't think it is I'm really honored to serve as well as a board member of the Education Justice Academy, and hearing you all talk about some of the current challenges that we're all facing throughout our school districts in California and the incredible amounts of capacity building that are needed in our communities and for school board candidates. I couldn't recommend the Education Justice Academy enough for the kind of work they're doing to help keep people get prepared for these critical roles. And really, thanks for popping our talking points into the chat and up on the screen. We're going to do basically 4 things tonight. We're going to just make some initial observations, talk a little bit about what the SPI position is, what it isn't, take a brief moment to center ourselves around some values that we think would be helpful, or what you all think would be helpful for us to be thinking about as we're talking about a new SPI in the state of California. Briefly review what could be a way to think about the candidates as you interview them next month in terms of a candidate evaluation framework. And then kind of lastly, propose some potential questions that you might want to consider for interviewing SPI candidates when you get together with them next month. And thanks again for making that event happen. It's really a really incredible service that you're providing the state. And I hope, as Sarah mentioned, we can all get the word out as broadly as possible about that event. So just starting out, a couple of things for you all, just maybe to keep in mind as we think about this race. This is more just for us to think about as in terms of individuals and maybe our organizations, including the Caucus and the Democratic Party. But it's still young, even though we're moving into the election cycle. It'd be important to not really endorse too early. This field could grow. We know there may be additional candidates getting into the race for SPI. On the other hand, it's also important to not endorse too late and then miss the opportunity to ensure voters understand what the importance of this race. Very few people in the state of California, if we were to each walk outside of wherever we are right now and interview 10 people on the street and ask them, who's the current SPI and what does the SPI do? I bet we find hardly anyone that could answer. So being able to increase that importance is really critical. It's so heartening for me to see such a broad cross-section of folks on this call and really kind of manifesting the kind of coalitions that we're going to need to be successful in 2026, both at the local and state level. So I think it's just really critical to keep building those strong coalitions, both locally within our school districts, within our counties in the state of California. And this last observation, based on the discussion tonight, I don't even think I need to make it. It's evident we cannot take the Christian nationalists too lightly. They are advancing rapidly in California. Some of the data that Briana's been keeping and that you all have been citing tonight is really scary. And all someone needs to do to get even broader media exposure because of our open primary process in the state of California is break into that top 2. And then we have the potential of a MAGA candidate in fall of 2026 for SPI. And just by way of maybe being one of the oldest people in the room right now, I can remember a time when the State Superintendent of Public Instruction's office was controlled by someone from the very far right, that person being Max Rafferty, if any of you remember him. And times have changed in the state of California, but it is not unforeseeable that we could get someone that would really do some considerable damage into that office. So just some quick observations. But let's talk a little bit about the SPI position itself. And maybe three things to think about here. One, what it is, importantly, what it isn't, and maybe what it could be. So on the topic of what it is, California is one of the few states in the country that actually elect a state superintendent of public instruction. I think we're one of 13 right now. That goes all the way back to the Constitution, which in 1849 established the office. The powers, though, of the state superintendent have been declining gradually since that time, and even more precipitously over the past couple of decades. So it is a statewide elected office, obviously. An important feature of the state superintendent is that person is the CEO of the California Department of Education, running a very, very large institution, which is doing very important work. Also runs the state school of the blind and the deaf. What many people might not be aware of is that the state superintendent of public instruction is also an ex officio member of the STIR system, the State Teachers Retirement System, UC Regents, CSU Board of Trustees, serves as a voting member on the Commission of Teacher Credentialing, the California Collaborative for Educational Excellence, and as secretary for the State Board of Education. Maybe the only statewide elected official who has the opportunity to serve on that broad of a cross section of educational institutions affecting our students in the state of California. And then lastly, probably what is the most important part of the state superintendent role is that it has the potential anyway to be a very powerful bully puppet, and just an opportunity to really get out the word about what incredible work is happening in public education around the state. So that's really what the SPI's office is. It's important to remember, and particularly when you're talking to candidates, what it's not. And the state superintendent is not the superintendent of the superintendents. The state superintendent is not the principal of the principals. The state superintendent basically has almost no direct authority over school districts in the state of California on a command and control basis. So anyone who's running for the job and thinks that's what it's going to be is going to be very deeply surprised if they get elected. California is very much a local control state, which is why the conversation that you all were just having about getting good people into local school boards is so important, because that's where a lot of the governance work actually does happen. So it's not that kind of hierarchical system in the state of California. What we've seen in the last couple of election cycles is really a lot of authority and a lot of the impetus for new reform coming out of the governor's office, as opposed to the state superintendent of public instruction. What the SPI could be is really that important player in terms of getting the word out around public education. So we just think for a moment, and imagine what it would be like in our state if we had an SPI who was articulating a really powerful vision for public education and had the ability to really capture the public imagination around that and inspire the kinds of networking, the kinds of grassroots organizing that you all have been talking about tonight, that would really be the way that we transform public education in the state. That future, and I think that kind of leader is possible, but we have to be really careful about selecting them as we move forward. So just briefly about what this role is and isn't, and you can look at some of the links that we've inserted in this document for some deeper information. But let's move on here a little bit. First of all, Briana, what did I leave out in my real quick summary of what this role isn't and what it could be, then maybe, please provide anything that I left out and then take us forward into this group value reflection.
Thanks so much, Glenn. I think you did a great job hitting the really important pieces of the limitations of the SSPI and the opportunities. I think that the piece that's important to know is that there's, all this soft power and all this visioning power that the SSPI can drive in all of the places and the conversations that the SPI finds themselves. There is no other person who is solely elected to think about the outcomes of children in our state and at that level. And so, there is an opportunity for that person to be driving connections between, our early childhood education system, our PK through 12 system, our higher education system, and understanding how to create a vision that drives all three of those systems more collaboratively and comprehensively, towards the vision of what California wants for its communities. And so I think that that's really a great transition to where I think, can come in as community members. We have to be the people who push these SSPI candidates to have this vision. And I think that we must start in that visioning first by understanding our values for the kinds of schools and the kinds of institutions that we want our public officials to champion. Because we had, a great early conversation with Sarah before coming in tonight about, just the power of public pools for kids and parks for kids and schools for kids and spaces for kids that center kids' needs and what kids need to develop and thrive in our communities. And our public officials are only going to be able to really champion that vision if we help them articulate the values that we would like to see centered. So I'd like to take this moment to ask y'all to take a moment of reflection. And you can close your eyes if you'd like, or you can just think about it as I'm reading aloud. But I want you to imagine an elementary school where you would like your kids, your grandkids, your niece, or your nephew, or your neighbor to be able to wake up every morning and be excited to go to school. What does that school look like, feel like, and sound like? And I'll just give you a minute to think and imagine that school. And if we hold on to that vision of what it feels like, or looks like, or sounds like, what values do we think that this school might represent? A lot of us might remember that our elementary schools had value statements that they teach the kids. What values do you want to see your public schools in California center? And finally, what values do you want to see in your SSPI candidates that would align with this vision? Because I think we heard so much, really, I think, wonderful conversation about how our schools have to serve everyone: Democrats, Republicans, independents, folks who are documented and undocumented, folks who have had really hard experience with the public school system or no experience with the public school system serving their kids and their grandkids. So what are the values that you want to see in the SSPI that align with this vision, especially given what Glenn just walked us through in terms of what the SSPI can and can't do? And so I encourage you to just continue thinking about these values as you move into your conversation in September. I have had the chance to have a couple conversations with folks who are running, and I think that it's important that all of them understand just how important this role can be, and you could be an important part of facilitating that dialogue, making sure that all of our candidates understand why we care so much about kids and public schools in nonpartisan ways, and how can we create this big tent for public education? Because I think this is the way we rebuild our democratic muscle, is through schools and through the engagement that we can have around how broad of a coalition believes in public schools and believes in what public schools are doing if we bring the right narrative and the right mission, like the Chino Valley Public Defenders. So I'm going to turn it back over to Glenn to talk a little bit more about some additional evaluation that might be helpful, but I want to center, at the very end of the day, you should find an SSPI candidate that matches your values.
Thanks, Briana. So true. And let's hold on to that thinking as we continue this to think a little bit further about evaluating SSPI candidates coming up in the near-term future. If you're looking at the talking points document that I popped into the chat and that has been linked to your agenda, I'm on the section that says potential candidate evaluation framework. Just some thoughts for you to consider as you're evaluating candidates that Briana and I kind of brainstormed about as we were thinking about our experience working for a state superintendent and watching the whole system of public education evolve. And Briana, feel free to jump in here as well as I review these. Thinking about a candidate that really can show a demonstrated North Star, where do they feel public education should move? A candidate that is a convener and a coalition builder. This is not a situation in the state, nor should it be, where the leader, our key leader in public education, is going to be in a command and control situation. It's going to be much more powerful, eventually much more transformative, to be really continuing to build these coalitions and alliances as you all have been doing tonight. How would this person help out with that? Clearly, California needs to take a major national role in defending public education, and the state of California is going to have to be at the lead of that. So will our next SPI be able to help lead the defense and the offense for public education in relation to the federal government? Clearly, an understanding of where our ecosystem is at right now, TK through 12 through 16 and CT in the state of California, and what could be and should be the state's role in making that ecosystem work. What is their vision for that? What is their executive management and leadership experience? For the last couple of election cycles, we've had largely SSPIs who've come out of the legislature, and there's nothing wrong with that. But being in the legislature does not necessarily prepare you to lead a 2,000 strong employee organization. What kind of experience could the candidate point to that would point to their ability to lead effectively a state department that would be doing the kinds of things we talked about? Number 7 and 8 here are things that probably haven't been considered too strongly before when we're thinking about SSPI candidates, but they should be. What kind of understanding does this person have of the supports needed and the pressures facing grassroots organizations? What kind of understanding do they have of an ability might they be able to provide to support progressive local school district governance? How can the state and the SSPI in particular be supporting of the strengthening of local school district governance, especially in light of the threats that we've talked about tonight and that we know are so present? So just some ideas for you to consider, and we can discuss these further as we move along. But first, Briana, I'm wondering what you might add or enhance or boldface to this part of the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it probably makes it feel like we're kind of creating like a dream list of your perfect partner that is very hard to find. But I want to add that that the federal government's complete dismantling of the infrastructure around, basically most social policy facing kids leaves a huge hole, holes in many school districts' budgets that, will continue. And It also means that there is opportunity when California gets block grants from the federal government to invest in the things that we really want to invest in that might reflect our values and the things that we know could be great for kids and schools. And so there is, both a need to support our most vulnerable kids through programs that they're losing access to through the federal government, and figure out how we can use these federal block grants through the Department of Education. So once again, going back to Glen's point that really we're looking for someone who can run a very large bureaucratic institution that fundamentally will funnel close to $150 billion down to local school districts. And so you both need a champion on the public side, but also a really sharp, bureaucratic leader on the other side. And so it's a tough job to be able to find somebody who can do both. But it's, such an important job. And that's why it's so important that we have folks like you thinking about this deeply.
Thanks, Briana. Lastly, we just wanted to give you a little gift here at the bottom of our talking points. Briana and I spent a little bit of time just brainstorming questions that might be good ones to pose to SPI candidates, given that you're going to be having them on board for a forum next month. And again, thank you for doing that. I think in terms of designing the questions, it would be important to keep them open, not provide the candidate kind of within the question, the response that you'd like to receive, but be a question that allows you to listen, particularly in light of some of the evaluation criteria that we were just talking about. What does a successful California educational system look like to you? 8 years after your election to SSPI, assuming you served 2 terms, what could California expect would be different in their public education system? How would you use your position as SPI to support local school district governance? How would you measure the success of that work? What experiences can you point to that would demonstrate your ability to provide executive leadership to a large state agency? In light of the tax that are being levied at those kinds of agencies and in education in general, how would you support morale and team building efforts at CDE? And listening to my friend Abba speak earlier, that I think that would extend to our 300,000 strong teaching workforce. How do we build that morale? What kinds of support could local pro-public education coalitions like the kinds we've talked about tonight expect from you and your SSPI team? If we really believe that this is the kind of organizing that's going to transform public education, what kind of support could they receive from an SPI? And maybe just a kind of a specific question, since it's so relevant, and Briana brought up the block grants, but there's also this potential for states to access as private vouchers. In what instances, if any, should public funds be used to support private educational institutions? So we just provide these as some samples, some ideas for you all to consider as you think about the candidates next month. And Sarah, again, thank you for having us tonight. We really appreciate it. And I think we'd be open for conversation, questions, dialogue, or whatever you have in mind at this point.
I would love that, and I'm very appreciative. Thank you so much. It's now 9:05, and I want to release anyone who feels honor bound to be here through 9 o'clock. But since you guys are willing to stay for another 5 or 10 minutes of questions, I really appreciate that. I won't close the meeting until we finish our questions. And I will just mention that there was a section let me just quickly mention a section in the agenda. You can go back and find that, where I had been thinking about talking about some of the bumps in the road for the new administration is scattering for our kids. You can take a look at that. They're all linked. There are 8 line items, and there are plenty more. So thank you for your willingness to take questions. JP?
Yeah, hi. This is my first meeting with this group, and I can't tell you how thrilled I am and how tuned in I feel with what I'm hearing. But I just want to mention one thing, that I will be filing to run for Los Angeles Unified school, Board of Education, Local District 6 next
So
week.
JP, we have a time to talk for people to talk about candidates. I should say, let's keep our questions to 1 minute here and question.
Sure.
And then you can introduce yourself later. Thanks.
Okay, what I would like to know is if somebody could put a couple of things in the chat, links where I could reach out and contact, because I loved what I just heard.
Oh, absolutely. It's all in the agenda also. And I'm sure everyone will be happy to put things in there too.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. Matthew? And let me just say, JP, stick around. You can introduce yourself later. Matthew?
Oh. I just wanted to thank everyone, both of you, for everything that you were saying. I just wanted to clarify. So the SSPI position is more of an advisory to the governor. Is that how I'm hearing it? It really doesn't set education policy. It really is more an advisory role. I just wanted to make sure that is what I heard. I was taking notes. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt. Briana, do you want to answer that?
Sure. I mean, it is not within the governor's purview. It is not an educational secretary. It doesn't report to the governor. And so it's an independent constitutional officer. And so it plays its own role in the California Constitution, directing education policy through really the operation of CDE and the allocation of the funding. Of course, the purse strings are controlled by the governor, and policy is set by the legislator. So I can't say the relationship between the governor and the SSPI is really the same that it is for a lot of constitutionals and the governor. It depends on the relationship between the two people there. And so in some administrations, they were very much in lockstep, and in other administrations, they were butting heads. And so, I think it points back to the fact that we need an SSPI that is a team builder, a coalition builder who understands how to navigate and work through multiple systems, because UC and CSU doesn't report to the governor really either. And so, you kind of have to navigate multiple bodies with different governance structures.
Can I follow up to that real quickly? So if there was potentially a Republican SSPI and a Democratic governor, there could possibly be tension there between those two offices, is what you're saying. Yes.
Very well could be. And yeah. Matt, that in fact has happened in the past as recently as Delane Easton, the opposite way. Delane Easton, Democrat, was SSPI, and Pete Wilson was governor. And there was significant tension. And I think the case has been made many times in California that the office of SSPI the Constitution should be changed, and the office of SSPI should be appointed by the governor. But those kinds of situations have really pointed to how good it is in some ways to have two separately elected offices. But it does, as Briana was pointing out, it does create a kind of a healthy tension.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you. And let me just make a note. I put in a private chat to our Lieutenant Governor who's here, Ms. Eleni Kounakis, for a 9 p.m. talk. Is it okay that we do another 5 minutes here, or are you needing to hop on now?
Sarah, I'm absolutely fascinated by the conversation. Take your time.
Awesome. I appreciate it very much. And we have another couple of candidates. How about if you have a problem, text me behind the scenes and we'll keep moving. Thank you to our guests. Michael, you have a question?
Yeah. My curiosity is, you mentioned, I feel like SPI is often mentioned as the CEO of the ed department without much unilateral power over the exact department. I guess how much authority does the superintendent exactly have in enforcing ed code and directing ed department staff to do specific things?
That's a really great question, and it would really depend on what part of ed code that you're talking about, because usually those powers are prescribed. There's some powers that are prescribed to the county offices of education, some to local school districts, some to boards of education, and some to the SPI. The SPI really should be and could be considered the CEO of the Department of Education, and really has a tremendous amount of authority and leadership potential in terms of the structuring and the running of that organization. What's important to keep in mind as well when thinking about the CDE, most people are surprised to learn that about 75% of CDE's funding actually comes from federal sources. And the amount of funding that CDE is receiving from the state of California to run its operations has been pretty much, particularly in real terms, continuously declining over the past couple of decades.
And will likely,
that's kind of a long-winded answer to your question, Michael, but go ahead, Brian.
I was gonna say, and will only get worse as federal government, declining funds continue, considering that the majority of CDE is state funded. I think the other thing that people need to understand about there's a lot of paper, there's a lot of policy on paper that, we either don't invest in, the training for people, or we don't have the right systems. And so, a lot of things like UCPs and IEPs and other things that, lead to ed code violations and infractions. I'm often in conversation with community members asking, why can't we hold the school district accountable? And a lot of times it's because the system itself needs either, a big influx of additional resources or a change that sometimes the SSPI can be a person who can highlight that there is a problem with the system, highlight that there needs to be policy change, because once again, it's part of the governance system and has the voice of the governor, ideally, and the legislator, but also county superintendents, as Glenn knows, because there are 58 county superintendents that play a very large role, and the SSPI can be somebody who provides direction to them in the case of an emergency, in the case of ICE raids, in the case of important policy questions that are constantly coming up, obviously, during this administration, and will continue to.
Thank you. Rick?
Hi. What a great presentation that you just gave. It's quite amazing. I want to know about Tony Thurmond and how you feel his administration or his position, how he and how we have done in the past 8 years.
I think we should focus on the future, personally. I would focus on evaluating the next 8 candidates, because frankly, whatever Tony was governing, it's going to be very different moving forward. And I think that's how I would answer that question right now.
Well, I don't know the context of what you just said.
Well, I think that's a pretty fair way of addressing things, actually. I mean, and it's also a little difficult to put someone on the spot right here in a public meeting, but you will be able, you have the contact information from Ms. Mullen and Mr. Price. You can probably try and address them offline.
Yeah, Sarah, if I could just make maybe 2 comments, Sarah, and I'm happy to, anyone that wants to contact me, I'm happy to talk to. I am super proud of what the state of California has accomplished over the last 6-7 years, particularly considering the pandemic that we all went through and the leadership that our state provided during that period. We've had the largest expansion of early childhood education that's ever been experienced in the state of California, and that's been through the leadership of the governor and Superintendent Thurmond in making that possible. We've had one of the largest investments. We've had the largest investment in the nation in community schools, an effort that's currently being launched, and it was, again, the leadership of the governor and Superintendent Thurmond that made that possible. The state of California is investing more in expanded learning, in providing wonderful after-school, summer, and intersession learning programs for students, more in our state than the rest of the 49 states combined. And that's due to the leadership of Governor Newsom and Thurmond. So those are some areas where things have really moved forward in a positive way over the past couple of years. And we've got an opportunity to continue to move those kinds of things forward and then drive some of the changes that we just talked about in the next 8 years.
Thank you. One last question, 1 minute from Ilko, please.
Yes, I won't need as much time. So we have a school district here in San Diego area, in the inland area, called Grossmont Union High School District. Ann Crosby made reference to it because we are recalling 4 members. What I am wondering is, I feel that we should, at least in California, create legislation to control the firing and the dismissing of our teachers. And the reason why I bring that up in question is in October, Grossmont Union High School District fired 102 special needs teachers. And then, of course, now they fired 61, and everybody's focused on the 61, but actually in a school year, that totals 163. Is there any kind of legislation, I already have friends in assembly and contacts there, that you would recommend, or is that something that we legally cannot do?
Do you want to respond to that, Briana, or like me too?
Yeah, go ahead, take a shot. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're getting into a pretty complex area, Ilka, and there are ed code and basically the collective bargaining agreements in every school district govern the way that teachers can be fired. I think you're absolutely right that more protections and more conversation is needed about how those kinds of actions, particularly along the lines and the scale that you're talking about, and for very vulnerable student populations, should be handled. So it wouldn't. I wouldn't necessarily think it would be a bad thing to pursue a legislative fix to that. I don't know what kind of prognosis there would be for a positive outcome. I think it could be quite good if you got the right constellation of legislators behind it.
Well, I am so appreciative of you guys. All of our group is still here. It's 9:18 and probably past midnight where you're at. Thank you so much. We have many links and resources, and I will technically close our meeting now at 9:18 and invite everyone to stay and hear from our Lieutenant Governor as a candidate. And I believe we have at least 2 other candidates in the House. So, Madam Lieutenant Governor.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me. I actually did not come to address all of you as a candidate tonight. So since you raised it, I am a candidate for treasurer. I had some big decisions I've made in the last couple of weeks. And I was so inspired by this conversation because as lieutenant governor, I sit on the boards of the UC, the CSU, and the community college system. I was a big proponent of transitional kindergarten. And this conversation was so fascinating, but it underscored why I actually wanted to come and address all of you tonight, which is because it underscores how much is at stake right now in our country. So I'm in Sacramento today. I was up in the legislature, and yesterday, a package of bills passed through committees, which will be voted on tomorrow by the full legislature. You probably heard about this. It has to do with the governor, the legislature, and the our congressional delegation working to change our redistricting framework here in order to stand up to Donald Trump, stand up to what they're doing in Texas, and fight in the most effective, maybe the only effective way we can for all of the things that we care about right now. So I really just wanted to come on. I'm going on all the caucuses just to express my support for the members of Congress, the governor, members of the legislature who are likely to pass this tomorrow and put it on the ballot for November 4th. It is not going to be a slam dunk for us. We are going to, all of us as activists and organizers, going to have to work really, really hard to help bring our friends and neighbors along with this. It is a little bit complicated, but what's not complicated is, as the governor said, it's not a time for candlelight vigils. It's time to fight fire with fire. So really, that's why I came to address you. And I assume, Sarah, you might have already talked about this at your meeting, but let me hand it back off to you for your candidates. I will be contacting all of you in the future about my candidacy for treasurer, but today is about Prop 50 and for everything we care about, for what Nancy Pelosi always says is her why, our children, our children, our children.
Yes.
I have 2 kids, but it's about all of our children. This is a moment where we can stand up, do something, punch back, and we're going to need everybody rowing in the same direction at the state party to get it over the finish line.
Thank you so much. I appreciate hearing this message and perspective. We actually spent a half an hour before our meeting just chattering and heard some interesting things from people who are not necessarily as actively involved as delegates. I think you're right. This is going to be a battle, unfortunately. It's funny. I mean, we're in a bubble here, and it feels like a lot of people are very enthusiastic here, but I'm not sure it's so enthusiastic beyond the bubble. Are you willing to take one question, or do you need to hop off?
I am, but you know what? You just reminded me, Sarah, of something. The Republicans did file a lawsuit to try to stop it in the courts. About 30 minutes ago, the courts rejected the Republicans' effort to stop it. Yeah. So this is going full force. And I know there's going to be a lot of voter education that we're going to have to do. But I'll tell you, as I travel the state of California, the thing I hear more than anything else is people saying, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do about these ICE raids? What can we do about defunding healthcare? What can we do about their trying to take control of women's bodies? What can we do about the next generation? This is what we can do.
Yes, thank you so much. And I will repeat what I did say earlier, that the Children's Caucus is all in. We will partner with CADEM, who is reaching out to all of these groups to set up phone banks. And I imagine there are opportunities. Oh, there are. Tracy Zelloff made it very clear they're going to try to support people where they're at in their communities, walking and, door knocking. It's going to be hard. There's not a lot of time. I appreciate our leadership coming out and explaining this stuff and being there for us with this support too.
This is the moment where people are going to show who they are, whether or not they're willing to stand up in the face of the tyranny that is coming at us from Washington, D.C. Leaders who are intent on sucking up the power of our democracy into their hands for their corrupt purposes and to reign their power over us. Or California has a moment to fight back and do something. It is a moment for courage. It is a moment for holding hands together and going forward to fight back. What we're doing right now is taking our gloves off. Someone put it this way. They said the high road has crumbled. And we've got to meet them where they are in this fight. And that's what we're doing with this redistricting. It is going to be transparent. The maps are going on the ballot. Instead of like Texas, where the legislature is making this change, it's going to be a vote of the people. We have a lot to be proud of. Barack Obama endorsed the effort today, commending the governor for an approach which is sensible and reasonable and fair. And, it's us, all of us, everyone on this call, 41 people at 9:30 at night who care about kids, getting out there and convincing our friends and neighbors to be brave.
Facts.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's very inspiring. And now we will hear from thank you, Lieutenant Governor. We'll hear from
Thank you,
Paul,
Lieutenant Governor.
who is running